Good morning, everybody. It's David Fisher, Director and Founder of Immigration Chambers New Zealand. So I'm just going to go through these three main points that have been coming up lately. Number one is this question about supermarket workers. And people are asking us, hey, can I go and work in a supermarket now? I have a work visa or I've got a student visa or something like that. I'd like to go and work in a supermarket. The government told us it's an essential job. Can I do that? The answer is probably not. What the government has announced is that if you are a supermarket worker and you have been working in a supermarket, then you can continue to work in a supermarket even though your interim visa or your student visa may not have that full working rights conditions. The rules are slightly complicated. It's to do with people on interim visas or student visas. But the point is, you have to have already been working in the supermarket on the 23rd of March. So if you're not sure about this, I would suggest you go and talk to your employer, because the point is that your employer will know by now whether they qualify as a supermarket and whether you qualify as somebody who's allowed to work there. These rules have been strictly interpreted to be certain types of supermarkets. It's not every corner dairy or superette. It includes mostly the main supermarket chains. My advice on that point is to go and talk to your employer. The second question that keeps coming up is the question about who can come into New Zealand or not. By now, everybody should know that there are a number of exceptions that immigration have listed as people who can travel to New Zealand. It's including people who are traveling with their New Zealand citizen partner, or people who are essential health workers or other essential workers. And if you're wanting to gain entry, there is that form that we talked about last time. You can go onto the immigration website. You can fill in an online form. We've been told that a huge number of applications have been received through that form, but only a few have been approved. There are very few, based on the numbers that I saw, that are actually being approved. They're being very careful about this. They're still really approaching this with a, hey, look, the border is closed type mentality. So unfortunately, that's not working out for everybody. Now, the related question to that is, can I extend the entry date on my visa? So let's say, for example, you're offshore, you're in Italy or Greece, where you come from, and you've applied for a visa to come to New Zealand, whether it be a work visa or a visitor visa, and the entry date on that visa approval happens to land on a date that's during this lockdown when you can't travel. So effectively what that means is that you're not able to come to New Zealand. Your visa will expire. The entry conditions will expire. You'll no longer be able to come to New Zealand. Now, if that's the case, it appears to be unfair because you've been granted a visa, but you just can't arrive in that time. And we're getting questions asking, hey, what can I do? Can I extend that entry date? Is it possible that I can gain entry to the country? Now, what we've been telling people until now is, that if you're our client, we would try to negotiate this on your behalf. We would be contacting the immigration officers, the managers, if they're available. Otherwise, you can use the form that's on the website to try to vary the conditions of your visa. We've actually received an email correspondence from immigration yesterday, and they've clarified this point. They haven't clarified it. What they've done is they've answered the question. They have said, in answer to the question about that, they have said, look, we don't have any fixed policy yet. Specifically, they said, no decisions have been made on this issue yet. This is a rapidly evolving situation, and we need to ensure that any decisions take into account the wider impacts of COVID-19, including any changes to the labour market. So very interestingly, there's two things to say about that. Number one, wait, we don't have an answer yet. There may be something happening in this space. They may come up with some kind of a policy around this or how to deal with it. And number two, they've mentioned here about the labour market. Now, this is something that is quite concerning, and it's going to be concerning to people who hold an essential skills visa, because if you've gone about applying for an essential skills visa, you've proven that your employer has advertised and you've proven that there's nobody else available in the local market who's a New Zealander, citizen or resident to take up the job. And immigration approved the visa and they said, okay, fine, you can come to the country before a certain date. But now what they've said in this comment here is we may have to consider whether there are any changes to the labour market. So essentially what this means is you may have been granted your visa, but you're not in the country yet. And before they let you into the country, they may consider whether now, after all of this has happened, there are New Zealanders available to do the job. And so in your particular circumstances, it could be the case that your visa no longer becomes valid. They don't allow you a further extension. So what's the real short answer to this? The short answer is you need to be a little bit patient. If your entry date is still later on, let's say it's June, okay, let's just wait on and see what immigration does about this once the lockdown is lifted. If your entry date is coming up really quickly, I would suggest to get in touch with somebody like myself or my team or another professional lawyer or advisor to see if we can make some kind of direct line to Immigration New Zealand in your specific circumstances to see if they can extend that date if you're unable to get it done through the online form. So that's that point there. Okay. The third thing which has been coming up is about delays of residence applications under the skilled migrant category, SMC. Now, again, relating to this correspondence we've had from immigration yesterday, they have said that they're putting the expressions of interest on hold. The selection from the pool is not going to happen in the meantime. It's basically on a until further notice basis. So if you've got an EOI that's been submitted in the last draw, or you want to submit one in for the next draw, that's fine. We can do that. We can submit it in the draw, but it won't be selected yet. And until further notice just means that they're waiting to see what's happening out of this lockdown, COVID-19 lockdown. And then once that has been lifted, perhaps they'll make some announcements about when that's going to be processed again. One thing that's for sure, you can expect longer delays than before. We've already been experiencing extended delays, people waiting for 18 months to get a case officer looking at their application seriously. Now you can wait longer. Vanessa Walmarans is asking, hi, is there an email address one can use to lodge a residence application before the ITA expires? So Vanessa, we have email addresses that we use to contact specific immigration officers or managers and things like that. And in the case of, I think I know what you're talking about, because in previous videos we've talked about lodging or sending confirmation of an ITA by email. Now, since we held that video and spoke about this, I have actually spoken with another immigration manager. Interestingly enough, an immigration manager who watched my video and wanted to talk about this particular subject. And what we've learned is that immigration would like us to still send couriers. So my concern in response was, well, hang on a second. Jacinda Ardern is telling us we're not supposed to send couriers unless it's an essential service, essential items. And the processing of a visa application technically is not an essential service. It's not an essential item. So this is a little bit open and it's a gray area. And so what I ended up saying to the manager is they'll say, well, look, we're still advising our clients that even if they are sending it, we can try to confirm by email that something has been submitted, at least to keep a record. There is not, Vanessa, sorry, but there is not a general public email address for the public to use to send to immigration. And I can't give you the email address that we use because it's specifically for advisors and for lawyers who represent clients. However, if you go to the immigration website, you will find that there is a way to submit contact information to immigration via the website. And there is also a phone number, and you can call them and you can say, I want to do this. Which email address should I send it to? Failing that, perhaps you could find an advisor who will help you to submit that. We would only be able to submit something on your behalf if you are engaged with us and you are our client. And unfortunately, this is something that we would have to charge for as well. We can't just start submitting things for people. So my advice would be to go to the immigration website, use the contact form, and at the same time send the courier, call the courier company and send it, get them to come and collect it, and tell them it's an essential item. Say it's for Immigration New Zealand, it's essential, and keep a record of it. Make a scanned copy of everything you're going to send. And then once you've sent it, use that contact form to notify immigration you've submitted it.